the discovery. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories of strength, transformation, and triumph. Today's story will take you on an emotional journey you won't forget. The perfect life that wasn't. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I am 58 years old. For 32 years, I believed I was living the perfect life. I had everything a woman could want. A beautiful lakeside mansion in Connecticut, a successful career as an interior designer, and a husband who everyone envied. Robert Mitchell was a real estate mogul, the kind of man who walked into rooms and commanded attention. He was handsome, successful, and charming. At least that's what I thought. I built my life around him. I designed our home with love, choosing every paint color, every piece of furniture, every artwork on the walls. The mansion sat on 3 acres of perfectly manicured land, overlooking a private lake that sparkled like diamonds in the morning sun. I would wake up each day, look out at that view, and feel grateful. I felt blessed. I felt safe. But safety, I would soon learn, is just an illusion we create to protect ourselves from the truth. My best friend Monica had been part of my life for 25 years. We met at a charity fundraiser when I was in my early 30s. Both of us young wives trying to navigate the world of wealthy husbands and social expectations. Monica was the kind of friend who knew everything about me. My fears, my dreams, my insecurities. She knew that I worried about getting older, about staying relevant in Robert's world. She knew that I sometimes felt invisible, like I was just the beautiful backdrop to his successful life. Monica was always there. She celebrated my victories and comforted me during my losses. When my mother died, Monica held my hand through the funeral. When I won the Designer of the Year award, Monica threw me a surprise party. She was more than a friend. She was a sister, or so I thought. The canceled weekend. It was a Friday afternoon in late September. The leaves were just beginning to turn, painting Connecticut in shades of gold and crimson. I had been looking forward to this weekend for months. Monica and I had planned a luxury spa retreat in Vermont, 3 days of massages, facials, yoga, and wine. We called it our soul-cleansing weekend, something we did twice a year to escape our busy lives. Robert had encouraged me to go. "You work too hard, Sarah," he said, kissing my forehead as I packed my bags. "Go relax. Enjoy yourself. I'll hold down the fort here. Maybe I'll finally organize my office like you've been asking." I remember smiling at him, feeling a wave of affection. After 32 years, we had settled into a comfortable rhythm. The passion of our early years had faded, yes, but we had something deeper. Partnership, history, stability. Or so I believed. I was halfway to Vermont, singing along to the radio when my phone rang. It was the spa resort. "Mrs. Mitchell, I'm so sorry, but we've had to close due to severe flooding in the area. We're refunding all reservations for this weekend." My heart sank with disappointment, but then I thought about my comfortable bed at home, my own bathroom, my garden. Maybe a quiet weekend at home wouldn't be so bad. I called Monica to tell her the news, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I assumed she was driving and would call me back. I turned the car around and headed home, already planning what I would do with my unexpected free time. I would finally organize my design portfolio, maybe plant some fall bulbs in the garden, perhaps cook Robert his favorite meal, lamb chops with rosemary and garlic. I was still thinking about recipes when I turned onto our long tree-lined driveway. That's when I saw it. The red car in the driveway. Monica's red BMW was parked in front of my house. Not near the guest parking area, but right in front of the main entrance, like she owned the place. The sight of it made me pause, my hands tightening on the steering wheel. Why was Monica here? She was supposed to be on her way to Vermont. Had she come to check on Robert? That didn't make sense. Monica lived 40 minutes away, and she never just dropped by unannounced. A strange feeling crept up my spine, something cold and uncomfortable, like ice water trickling down my back. I tried to shake it off. Maybe there was an emergency. Maybe she needed help with something. Maybe her car broke down and Robert was helping her. But none of those explanations felt right. I parked my car in the garage and sat there for a moment, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. The garage was too quiet. Usually, I could hear sounds from the house. Music playing, the television, Robert's voice on a conference call. But today there was nothing. I grabbed my weekend bag and walked toward the house, my heels clicking on the stone pathway. The September air was warm, but I felt cold. My hand trembled slightly as I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The foyer was elegant and empty. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the tall windows, making patterns on the marble floor. Everything looked normal. The fresh flowers I had arranged on the console table, the carefully chosen artwork on the walls, the crystal chandelier sparkling overhead. This was my domain, my creation, my sanctuary. But something felt wrong. "Robert!" I called out, my voice echoing in the high-ceilinged space. No answer. "Monica!" Still nothing. I set my bag down and stood there, listening. And then I heard it, a sound coming from the back of the house. Music. The low, sensual rhythm of jazz that Robert only played when he wanted to set a mood. We used to dance to that music in our early years, holding each other close, lost in our own world. My heart began to pound, each beat like a drum warning me to turn around, to leave, to pretend I never heard that music. But I couldn't stop myself. I walked through the house, past the living room with its white sofas and designer coffee table books, past the dining room where we hosted elaborate dinner parties, past the kitchen where I spent hours creating perfect meals. The music grew louder as I approached the back of the house. It was coming from the home gym, the space I had designed last year with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the pool. Robert had wanted it to stay motivated, he said. He wanted to stay in shape. I reached the door. It was slightly open, just a crack. I could see movement inside, shadows playing against the afternoon light. I pushed the door open. The moment everything shattered. They didn't hear me at first. The music was too loud, and they were too absorbed in each other. Robert and Monica were on the yoga mat I had carefully selected from an artisan in India. They were tangled together, moving in a rhythm that made my stomach turn. But what shocked me more than the physical betrayal was the intimacy I saw between them. This wasn't a sudden mistake or a moment of weakness. This was familiar, comfortable. The way Robert's hand moved through Monica's hair, the way she laughed at something he whispered. These were the gestures of people who had done this many times before. I stood there, frozen. Time seemed to stop. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't move. My entire world, everything I believed to be true, was collapsing around me like a house made of cards. Finally, I found my voice. "How long?" They sprang apart. Robert's face went white, his eyes wide with the kind of fear you see in animals caught in a trap. Monica, on the other hand, looked annoyed. Not guilty, not ashamed, annoyed. Like I had interrupted something important. "Sarah," Robert stammered, grabbing his shirt. "You're supposed to be..." "The spa, I thought." "How long?" I repeated, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. Monica stood up, completely unashamed, and reached for her clothes. She dressed slowly, deliberately, while Robert fumbled with his pants like a teenage boy caught by his parents. 5 years, Monica said calmly, meeting my eyes with a coldness I had never seen before. "We've been together for 5 years, Sarah. 5 years. The number hit me like a physical blow. 5 years meant this started when I was planning Monica's 50th birthday party. 5 years meant they were together when Robert and I renewed our vows at our 30th anniversary. 5 years meant every hug Monica gave me, every "I love you" friend, every shared secret was a lie. "Sarah, please." Robert finally found his voice. "Let me explain. This isn't what you think. It's exactly what I think," I said. My voice didn't sound like my own. It was cold, mechanical, like someone else was speaking through me. "Get out of my house. Both of you." Monica laughed. Actually laughed. "Your house? Sarah, wake up. This is Robert's house. His money bought it. His success maintains it. You just decorate it." Those words cut deeper than the affair itself. Because somewhere, In the hidden corners of my mind, I had always feared that was true. I had always worried that without Robert, I was nothing. Get out, I repeated. Robert reached for me. Sarah, we need to talk about this. We're adults. We can figure this out. Now. I stepped back from his touch, my body recoiling. Get out now, or I will call the police. Monica grabbed her purse and walked past me, her expensive perfume leaving a trail in the air. At the door, she paused and looked back. You should thank me, Sarah. I've been keeping him happy while you've been playing house. Someone had to do it. Then she was gone, her heels clicking across the marble foyer, the front door slamming behind her. The hidden truth. Robert stood there, half-dressed, looking pathetic and small. This was the man I had loved for 32 years. This was the man I had trusted with everything. My heart, my future, my life. Leave, I said quietly. Go to a hotel. Go to Monica's. I don't care. Just leave. Sarah, please. Leave or I will destroy you. Something in my voice must have convinced him. He grabbed his things and left, the sound of his car engine fading into the distance. Only then did I allow myself to collapse. I sank to the floor of that home gym, surrounded by the equipment I had carefully chosen, and I felt the first wave of pain crash over me. It was physical, a crushing weight on my chest that made it hard to breathe. Tears came, hot and fast, streaming down my face until I couldn't see. But even through the tears, even through the devastation, a small voice in my head whispered, "Get up, this isn't over." I don't know how long I sat there. The sun was setting, painting the room in shades of orange and pink. Finally, I pulled myself up and walked through the house. I felt like a ghost in my own home, looking at my life as if for the first time. I ended up in Robert's study, a room I rarely entered. It was his domain, filled with dark wood furniture, leather chairs, and the smell of expensive cigars. His computer sat on the desk, the screen dark. I sat down and turned it on. I knew his password, our wedding date, 091591. The screen came to life, showing his desktop with its organized files and folders. I started searching. I don't know what I was looking for at first, just evidence, proof, something to make sense of the senselessness. And I found it. Oh, how I found it. There were folders labeled ML, Monica's initials. Inside were photos of them together, hundreds of them. Vacation photos from trips Robert claimed were business conferences. Intimate. Photos that made my stomach turn. Screenshots of text messages filled with declarations of love and plans for the future. But that wasn't all. I found financial records that made my blood run cold. Robert had opened an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Over the past 5 years, he had been systematically transferring money from our joint accounts. Small amounts at first, then larger sums. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more. There were real estate documents showing properties I didn't know existed. Condo in Manhattan. A beach house in the Bahamas. All bought with our money, all registered in Robert's name alone. And then I found the email. It was from Monica to Robert, dated just 2 weeks ago. My love, I can't wait anymore. You promised we'd be together. File for divorce next month like we planned. Sarah will be fine. She has her little design business to keep her busy. We deserve to live our truth. I want to wake up next to you every morning, not sneak around like teenagers. Let's start our real life together. Robert's response, I know, darling. You're right. I'll tell her after the Thanksgiving holiday. Promise. Just a few more months and we'll be free. They had been planning to leave me. They weren't just having an affair. They were building a future together, using my money, in my house, while I smiled and played the perfect wife. I sat back in the leather chair, my hands shaking. The pain in my chest had transformed into something else. Something cold and sharp and clear. It was rage, yes, but it was more than that. It was determination. I wasn't going to fall apart. I wasn't going to beg Robert to come back. I wasn't going to let them destroy me and walk away with everything I had helped build. I was going to fight, and I was going to win. I spent the next 3 hours methodically copying every file, Every photo, every email, every financial record onto 3 separate flash drives. I took photos of bank statements with my phone. I printed out the most damaging emails and hid them in my design studio. By the time I finished, it was nearly midnight. The house was dark and silent. I walked upstairs to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and looked at the bed we had shared for 32 years. Couldn't sleep there. Not tonight. Maybe not ever again. Instead, I went to the guest room and lay down on the crisp white sheets. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the sound of the lake lapping against the shore outside the window. My life as I knew it was over. The woman I had been this morning, the trusting wife, the loyal friend, the woman who believed in love and partnership. She was gone. But a new woman was being born. A woman who understood that trust was a weapon people used against you. A woman who knew that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you most. A woman who would never, ever be a victim again. I closed my eyes and began to plan. The game was just beginning. The strategic revenge. The mask I wore. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, make sure to watch part 1 first to understand Sarah's heartbreaking discovery. And don't forget to like and subscribe. This story gets even better. The morning after I discovered Robert and Monica's betrayal, I woke up with perfect clarity. My eyes were swollen from crying. My body ached from tension, but my mind was sharp as a blade. I had a choice to make: collapse in grief or rise in power. I chose power. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back at me had aged overnight. New lines around her eyes, a hardness in her expression that wasn't there before. But beneath the pain, I saw something else. Strength I didn't know I possessed. I made a decision that morning that would change everything. I would not scream. I would not cry in public. I would not give them the satisfaction of seeing me broken. Instead, I would smile. I would pretend. I would play the game better than they ever could. Because the best revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served with a smile. Robert came home that Sunday evening, his tail between his legs, carrying flowers from the expensive florist downtown. White roses, my favorites, or what he thought were my favorites. He had never bothered to learn that I actually preferred peonies. "Sarah," he said, standing in the doorway like a stranger asking permission to enter. "Can we talk?" I was in the kitchen, preparing dinner as if nothing had happened. I had spent the entire weekend planning, researching, and building my strategy. Now it was time to execute. "Of course," I said, my voice warm and calm. "I made your favorite lamb chops." He looked confused, suspicious even. He had expected tears, accusations, thrown dishes. Instead, he got the perfect wife cooking his favorite meal. "You're not angry?" he asked carefully. I turned to face him and I gave him the performance of my life. I let my eyes fill with tears, real ones, from a well of genuine pain I would use as fuel. "Robert, I've had 2 days to think. Yes, I'm hurt. I'm devastated. But we've been married for 32 years. That has to count for something." I watched his face shift from fear to relief to something that looked almost like contempt. He thought I was weak. He thought I was going to accept this, forgive him, take him back without a fight. "Perfect. I want to work on our marriage," I continued, my voice trembling just enough. "But I need time, and I need honesty. Is it over with Monica?" He rushed to me, grabbing my hands. "Yes, completely over. It was a mistake, Sarah. Terrible mistake. You're the one I love. You're my wife." Lies. All lies. But I nodded and let him hold me, even though my skin crawled at his touch. "Then we'll try," I whispered. "But slowly. We need counseling. We need time." He agreed to everything. He thought he had won. He thought he had his comfortable life back. The beautiful wife, the perfect home, the secret lover on the side. Men like Robert always underestimate women like me. They mistake kindness for weakness, grace for stupidity. That was his first mistake. And I was going to make sure it was his last. The secret meetings. Over the next 3 weeks, I became a spy in my own life. I smiled at breakfast. I kissed Robert goodbye when he left for work. I attended charity luncheons and acted like nothing was wrong. But behind the scenes, I was building a case that would destroy them both. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Janet who specialized in infidelity cases. She was discreet, professional, and ruthless. Within 1 week, she had photographic evidence of Robert and Monica meeting at a hotel in Manhattan. They thought they were being careful, but Janet was better. I met with 3 different divorce attorneys before I found the right one. Her name was Patricia Chun, and she had a reputation for taking high-net-worth divorces and turning them into complete victories for her clients. She was expensive, brilliant, and exactly what I needed. "You have an excellent case," Patricia said, reviewing the evidence I had gathered. "The affair, the hidden accounts, the properties in his name only, this is financial infidelity on top of marital infidelity. In Connecticut, we can go after everything." "I don't just want everything," I told her. "I want them to lose everything they thought they would gain." Patricia smiled. It was the smile of a shark scenting blood in the water. "Then let's build a strategy." We discovered that Robert was planning his biggest real estate deal yet, a luxury development project worth over $50 million. His partner in the deal, Monica's family investment firm. They had been planning this for over a year, using inside information and connections to secure the property and financing. But the deal was built on shaky ground. Robert had used our joint funds as collateral without my knowledge or signature. He had made promises to investors that he couldn't keep. And Monica's firm had bent several ethical rules to make it happen. Patricia and I planned our attack carefully. We would wait until the deal was about to close, until everyone had committed their money and resources, and then we would strike. The collapse would be spectacular. But first, I needed to play one more role: the anniversary celebration. I told Robert the first wanted to host a party for our upcoming 33rd wedding anniversary. "I want to celebrate our marriage," I said sweetly. "I want to show everyone that we're stronger than ever." He loved the idea. Of course he did. It would make him look good, prove to everyone that his perfect life was still intact. He had no idea what I was planning. I spent 2 weeks organizing the most elaborate party our home had ever seen. I invited everyone, all our friends, our business associates, people from the country club, and most importantly, Monica. She had been avoiding me NC that day, but she couldn't refuse a public invitation without raising suspicion. The night of the party, our home was transformed. White lights were strung through the trees, reflecting off the lake like stars. A jazz band played on the terrace, the same kind of music I had heard that terrible day. Tables were draped in white silk, and champagne flowed like water. I wore a dress I had designed myself, a stunning red gown that made me look powerful and elegant. I had my hair done, my makeup perfect. I looked like a woman who had it all. Robert worked the crowd, his arm around my waist, playing the devoted husband. Monica arrived late, wearing a black dress that was too tight and too young for her. She couldn't look me in the eye. At exactly 9 o'clock, I called for everyone's attention. The band stopped playing, and the crowd gathered around. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I said, my voice carrying across the terrace. 33 years ago, I married the man of my dreams. I thought I knew everything about him. I thought I understood what our marriage meant. Robert smiled beside me, oblivious to what was coming. But recently, I've learned so much more. I've learned about secret bank accounts in the Cayman Islands. I've learned about properties bought with marital funds and registered in only one name. I've learned about business deals built on lies and false promises. The smile began to fade from Robert's face. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Most importantly, I've learned about the 5-year affair my husband has been having with my best friend, Monica Sterling. The silence that followed was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop on the stone terrace. And so tonight, I'm not celebrating our marriage. I'm celebrating my freedom. Because tomorrow morning, Robert will be served with divorce papers. And Monica's family firm will be served with a lawsuit for fraud, conspiracy, and breach of fiduciary duty. I turned to look at Robert. His face was white, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "How could you?" he finally managed to gasp. "How could I?" I laughed, and it was a sound I didn't recognize, hard and cold. "I learned from the best. You taught me that the people closest to you can smile to your face while stabbing you in the back. You taught me that trust is a weapon. Thank you for the lesson, darling." Monica tried to leave, but several people blocked her path, their faces full of disgust and curiosity. She looked like a trapped animal, her carefully constructed image crumbling around her. "You have no proof," Robert said desperately. "This is slander. I'll sue you." "I have 3 flash drives full of proof," I said calmly. "Bank statements, property records, emails, text messages, and photographs. Lots of photographs. My attorney has copies, and so does the district attorney, since some of your financial activities cross the line into criminal fraud." The crowd began to murmur. Phones came out, capturing the moment. By morning, this would be all over Fairfield County. "The party's over," I announced. "Please help yourselves to the champagne on your way out. It's expensive, and Robert paid for it with money he stole from our joint accounts. Enjoy." I walked back into my house and locked the door behind me, leaving Robert and Monica to face the crowd alone. Through the window, I watched as people surrounded them, asking questions, taking photos, spreading the news like wildfire. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in my living room, listening to the chaos outside. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no joy, no pain. Just a deep, calm sense of justice. The systematic destruction. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal action and social fallout. Patricia Chun moved like a force of nature, filing motions, freezing accounts, and building an airtight case. Robert's real estate deal collapsed within days. His investors pulled out when they learned about the fraud investigation. Monica's family firm, desperate to protect their reputation, fired Monica and settled the lawsuit for a substantial sum. They threw her under the bus without hesitation, just as she had betrayed me without remorse. The media picked up the story. "Real estate mogul's empire crumbles amid affair and fraud scandal" read the headlines. Robert's face was plastered across the business section. No longer the successful entrepreneur, but a cautionary tale about greed and betrayal. I watched it all unfold from the safety of my attorney's office. Every day brought new revelations, new losses for Robert. Properties he thought were secure turned out to have liens against them. Business partners turned on him, providing evidence of other shady deals. The house of cards he had built was falling, and I was the wind that knocked it down. Monica's life imploded even faster. Her family disowned her publicly, releasing a statement that condemned her unprofessional and immoral behavior. Her friends abandoned her. Her country club membership was revoked. She was forced to sell her house and move into a small apartment across the state line. But I wasn't satisfied with just their public humiliation. I wanted financial justice too. The court proceedings were brutal for Robert. Patricia presented our evidence with surgical precision. The judge was a woman in her 60s who had no patience for cheating husbands who stole from their wives. "Mr. Mitchell," the judge said during one hearing, "you systematically plundered marital assets to fund an extramarital affair and secret business ventures. You showed a complete disregard for your wife's financial security and emotional well-being. This court will ensure that justice is served." In the end, I was awarded the house, the majority of our assets, and a significant portion of Robert's future earnings. Robert was left with his failing business, mounting legal fees, and a reputation in tatters. The unexpected freedom. 3 months after the anniversary party, I stood in my home now legally and completely, and looked around at the life I had built. Every room told a story, every piece of furniture was chosen with care. But it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a museum, a shrine to a life that never really existed. I made another decision that would change everything. I put the house on the market. My real estate agent was shocked. "Sarah, this is prime real estate. You could live here forever." "I don't want to live here forever," I told her. "I want to live somewhere new, somewhere that's mine alone, somewhere without ghosts. The house sold in 2 weeks for well above asking price. A young couple with 3 children bought it, excited about the lake and the gardens and the space to grow. I was happy for them. They would fill it with laughter and love, and maybe that would erase the pain that had soaked into the walls. With the money from the sale and the settlement, I bought a beautiful penthouse apartment in downtown Hartford. It had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a modern kitchen where I could cook without memories, and a spare bedroom I converted into a design studio. I also did something I had dreamed about for years but never had the courage to do. I started my own boutique interior design firm, specializing in helping divorced women redesign their homes and their lives. Fresh Start Designs, I called it. The name said it all. My first client was a woman named Jennifer who had just left an abusive marriage. She sat in my office and cried as she told me her story. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she said. "He controlled everything, what colors I could paint the walls, what furniture I could buy, what art I could hang. I want a home that's mine." I understood her completely. Together, we designed a space that reflected her personality, her strength, her dreams. When the project was finished, Jennifer stood in her new living room and cried again. But this time, they were tears of joy. "You gave me more than a beautiful home," she told me. "You gave me permission to be myself." That's when I realized my betrayal had given me a gift. It had forced me to find out who Sarah Mitchell really was, beneath the role of wife and the expectations of others. And I liked the woman I found. The failed reconciliation. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, Robert called me. I had changed my number, but he found a way to reach me through my business line. "Sarah." His voice was rough, defeated. "I need to talk to you. We have nothing to discuss, Robert. Please, just 5 minutes. I'm not doing well." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a neutral coffee shop downtown. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. He had aged 10 years in 6 months. His expensive suit hung loosely on his frame. His face was gaunt, and his eyes had lost their arrogant sparkle. He sat down across from me, his hands shaking as he stirred sugar into his coffee. "I made a terrible mistake," he began. "The worst mistake of my life. I lost everything, my business, my reputation, my home. But the worst thing I lost was you." I sipped my coffee and said nothing. "Monica left me," he continued, 2 months ago. She said I was broke and boring, that she didn't sign up for this. She's in Florida now, trying to find another rich man to leech off of." He laughed bitterly. "Funny how passion fades when the money runs out." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I want you to know you were right. About everything. She didn't love me. She loved what I could give her. And I threw away a real marriage, a real partnership, for nothing." He reached across the table, trying to take my hand. Pulled away.